Welcome in for the Week 2 recap. We have some exciting games on the slate today, but first, let's head to Happy Valley for UCF and Penn State in the battle of two ranked foes. We pick up in the second quarter with Penn State already up 7-0, and UCF and John Reese Plumlee driving though, getting into the red zone, looking to get that tying score before halftime. With the snap, Plumlee drops back, and he's able to find a man near the corner of the end zone, and they tie this game up at 7. Then we take over a couple of minutes later in the second quarter. Aller's dropping back in the pocket, and he finds his man in the back of the end zone to give Penn State a 14-7 lead. But UCF would not be over in the first half, as they would take some time in the red zone with 20 seconds left. Plumlee took the snap here. He's scanning, and he's finding another man in the corner of the end zone, and this game would be tied up at 14 heading into the second half. But the next time we meet, UCF is up 17-14, and Penn State is looking to reclaim the lead with a couple of minutes left in the third quarter. And on the read option, Drew Aller finds the end zone, and this team goes up 21-17. With how much of a seesaw match this has been, you can't feel safe with this lead at this point, so we'll have to see if Penn State can hold them, which they cannot, because UCF is up 27-24 with 4 minutes to go, but Penn State is threatening to go and take the lead back on third and goal. Pitch out to Nick Singleton. He finds the angle. They go up 31-27. They'd eventually add on another touchdown and win by a 38-27 final. The story of this game was Drew Aller. He had a very nice game on the air and through the ground as Penn State picks up a big ranked victory here in Week 2. Next up, we have a Sunshine State showdown between Florida and Miami. Both teams are 1-0 going into Week 2. Florida had the more impressive victory as they beat Auburn at a very impressive offensive showing, but Miami did get the victory against Florida Atlantic. Now they're going to test themselves in this Sunshine State showdown. And it doesn't take long before we're under 8 minutes to go, and Florida is already in the red zone. On third and goal, though, Mertz goes and changes the play at the line. He had such a good showing in Week 1, gotta trust him. He's looking, moving, and he throws one in the dirt, and this will bring up fourth and goal, and Florida will have to settle for a field goal, but still getting points early on in a rivalry matchup is pretty key. Next time we see these two teams, Miami is the one in the red zone, this time in the second quarter on first and goal. Quarterback Tyler Van Dyke taking a spy at the defense, handing this off though to Henry Parrish, and Henry Parrish will put this as a 13-10 game and helps Miami inch a little bit closer in this one. Moving even farther forward, Miami is having a hard time keeping pace, down 23-10. Really need this red zone trip to pay off. It's a read option. Tyler Van Dyke is able to find some room, and he's able to cut this to a 23-17 game in the third quarter. Now we have a crucial 4th and 5 for Miami as they're driving, kind of on the edge of field goal range, but down by 3. They need a play here if they want to be able to make it through this game. Tyler Van Dyke gets a snap. He's able to find his man over the middle down to the 25 as he's had a really nice game with under 3.5 minutes to go. Following that conversion, they were able to cash in and get their leading field goal to go up 27-26, but now we take over with Florida driving. They're on the precipice of field goal range, similar spot, but on first down, Mertz is able to find a man as he's getting hit, and his man gets down to the 20-yard line, and Florida is going to be in position to be able to get their own field goal of their own, hopefully to take the lead for the last time. We're here with 43 seconds left, though, on third and goal. Is Florida going to just wait it out and go for this field goal, or are they going to try to pour it on and get a touchdown? They hand it off, and they are able to find the end zone. That's kind of a weird play. You would think you would just go down, take the easy field goal, but instead they're going to go and punch it in, get the 2-point conversion, and they're up 7 now. Miami has 1 shot left. All they need to do is throw it to the end zone, but they're 60 yards away, 3 seconds left. Van Dyke has the snap. He's trying to get it 60 yards, but he is sacked, and Florida is going to win this rivalry matchup and move to 2-0 as they win 34-27. Our big story for this week was, could Georgia avoid going 0-2 as the 2-time defending national champions? South Carolina, though, is in the same boat. Both teams took SEC losses in Week 1 and cannot afford to go to 0-2 in regular play or 0-2 in SEC play. Let's see which team was able to prevail. And we're in the third quarter of this one, and South Carolina is already up 31-10. Georgia in the red zone, though, looking to cut into this lead. It's going to be a read option that Carson Beck is able to take into the end zone. But they're still down 31-17, and definitely on upset alert. A lot of work to do if they want to pull this one off. They're able to get a stop. Georgia has a 2-back look, first and goal, end of the third quarter. looking here, and Beck is able to find his man Ra Thomas, and it is a 31-24 game as Georgia is climbing back into this one. South Carolina fans got to be feeling a little nervous. They're only 1 quarter away from a huge victory. They're in the red zone now, 4th quarter. Spencer Rattler under center. He drops back, and he is throwing a little wildly. It looked like the game was getting away from him here at the end of the game. They really just needed him to take care of the football, finish off some drives, and they were going to get this win over Georgia. This time on 2nd and goal, they're able to just take the simple handoff. They were so effective in the run game against Georgia today in a very surprising fashion that they were able to go up 38-24, 8 minutes to go. But only 2 minutes later, Georgia is responding, and their offense is looking good. 1st and goal for Georgia. Beck is able to drop back. He holds the ball and he gets thrown down, and that was pretty much the story of the game, that Carson Beck was shooting this team in the foot time after time with his decision making, and it brought up a 2nd and goal, but this time from the 10-yard line. They have to get a touchdown here, under 6 minutes to go. Beck drops back, makes a fairly quick decision, and hits Brock Bowers in the corner of the end zone, and with all the skill makers that you have on the field, you gotta just sit there and do it. 4.5 minutes to go. Georgia looking for a stop on 3rd and 8. Rattler drops back. He throws it into the flats, and Malachi Starks almost had the pick 6, and that could have tied this game with 4 minutes to go. They get the stop though. Georgia does nothing on offense. Same spot for South Carolina. They get a conversion here on 3rd and 8. It would win them the game. They're able to throw into the flats, and they fight through, get a 1st down, and South Carolina is going to pull off the upset against Georgia, 38-31. Great win for Spencer Rattler, a signature win for his time at South Carolina, when a lot of people questioned why he came to this program after being such a highly touted recruit. But even though they lost that first game in the week 1, they respond here in week 2 and put Georgia as an 0-2 team and an 0-2 SEC team, which ends up being even more important, I think, in the grand scheme of things. And as I mentioned, as much as you want to praise South Carolina, it's hard not to look at the performance that Carson Beck ended up having and just shaking your head and saying that's not good enough in SEC play. He is proven to be one of the weaker starters in this league right now, and Georgia's just not been able to overcome it. That takes us to our final game that we're going to take some gameplay footage of Arkansas and TCU, as they're going to square off in a Big 12 matchup as TCU looks to rebound from their opening week loss to LSU. After a back-and-forth matchup the entire game, these two teams are in the middle of the 4th quarter, tied at 31. Quarterback KJ Jefferson for Arkansas has been absolutely magnificent, and he has a nice chance here on 3rd and 9 where he's finding his man for almost 20 yards, as he has over 400 yards passing through the air. This time on 3rd and 15, Arkansas looking for a conversion, knowing they're probably going to need a touchdown with the way this game has been going and how high scoring it is. He's able to find his man, but no, it is a pass breakup by TCU, and they force a field goal. Now it's TCU who's facing a long 3rd down, but they're right on the edge of field goal range. They really could use some extra yardage to make this field goal easier if they have to opt for that. 3rd and 16, they find their man, and they get it to 12 more yards on a 4th and 4, which makes their field goal much easier. And the field goal is going to go up, and it will be good, as it is a 34-34 game with 1 minute and 54 seconds to go. Arkansas would get a quick touchdown and force TCU into a long 4th down, 37 seconds to go. They need this one to stay alive. They're still 70 yards from the end zone. Chandler Morris takes the snap, throws a deep ball. JoJo Earl mosses his man, is able to make the play, and runs his way all the way to the end zone on a 70-yard Hail Mary of a throw, and that will tie this game at 41 and send it to overtime for TCU and Arkansas. KJ Jefferson and company have their 3rd and 10 shot in the overtime. They need something to keep it alive, but that throw isn't going to end up being short, as it'll bring up 4th and 6 for Arkansas, and they'll have to settle for a field goal in overtime. But something of note, that pass did let KJ Jefferson set the single game record for Arkansas in passing yards, so let's give it up to KJ Jefferson with his performance today that may not end up in a winning effort with the way the offenses have been performing. The ball is snapped, and the kick is up, and it is good. And as I mentioned, that's a 3-point game, but with the way the offenses have been scoring, it's going to be tough to keep TCU out of the end zone, especially after that confidence booster they had at the end of regulation to bring this to overtime. We'll take over with 1st and 10, right about the 10-yard line for the TCU offense. Morris drops back, he finds a man, easy in the middle of the field, and that will be a touchdown, and the walk-off variety as TCU wins this one, 47-44. One other notable game around the country, Wisconsin in their first game of the season was able to go into the Big House and win 38-28 over Michigan, so the number 3 team in the country takes a loss and their playoff hopes get a little more complicated now. Then in the SEC, we see North Carolina taking care of business against East Carolina, Toledo beating Auburn, so that Auburn team is looking like they are a dumpster fire once again, so we'll keep an eye on them and see if Hugh Freeze can even survive year 1. NC State beats Central Michigan by 10. Mississippi State beats Clemson by 16, which is a fairly surprising result with how Clemson came out and beat Georgia last week, so that's one to definitely keep an eye on and see if Clemson is going to be able to respond. And then Tennessee beat Ole Miss 34-31, so everything else seemed to stand pat in the SEC in this week. Then in the Big Ten, West Virginia is able to get a nice victory. Ohio State handles Northern Illinois pretty well. Pittsburgh beats Duke 31-19. Nebraska and Illinois play a 20-14 game that I'm sure was incredibly exciting. Michigan State beats an FCS opponent. Cincinnati beats USF. Purdue beats Louisville in a Big Ten game, so a couple of noteworthy results there. Then in the Big 12, Oklahoma State beats UTSA by 7, so not a lot going on there. A&M and Tech beat FCS opponents. Missouri beats Arkansas State 34-16. Kansas beats Louisiana Tech. Looks like in the Big 12 they had a bunch of their best teams playing teams that shouldn't beat them and just getting easy victories there, so good on the Big 12. And then the Pac-12, Arizona State needed overtime to beat an FCS opponent. BYU beat Middle Tennessee State by 1. Not the most impressive showing for this team, but a team that we talked about a lot last week, Colorado. They do win over an FCS opponent 35-6, but still impressive nonetheless as they're going to go to 2-0, and USC responds with a 49-10 victory, getting a Pac-12 victory against Washington State. And then the next video on this channel is going to be LSU at Florida State in Week 3. Both teams are undefeated. Both teams still trying to keep their playoff hopes alive. The number 2 team in the country hosting the number 4. It's going to be quite the matchup. Please join us for that one, and that will be posted shortly here on the channel. Go Noles!